Air Force One, the most advanced aircraft on the planet. Flying command center for the President of the United States, equipped with technology and capabilities most people don't even know exist. When the zombie apocalypse hits the ground, Air Force One is safely in the sky. But here's the question nobody asks. How long can it actually stay up there? Welcome to Survival Theorem, where we analyze real capabilities with facts, not fiction. Today we're examining Air Force One's endurance during a zombie outbreak. Can it stay airborne indefinitely? Does it run out of fuel? Can the president actually survive up there while the world ends below? Let's break it down. First, let's establish what Air Force One actually is. It's not a single plane. Air Force One is the call sign for any Air Force aircraft carrying the president. But when people say Air Force One, they mean one of two highly modified Boeing 747-200B aircraft. These aren't commercial planes. They're custom-built flying fortresses. The specs are impressive. 4 engines, maximum speed around 630 miles per hour, service ceiling of 45,000 feet, higher than most commercial traffic. But the key number for our question, fuel capacity. Air Force One can carry approximately 53,000 gallons of jet fuel. Now, fuel consumption. A standard 747 burns about 5 gallons of fuel per mile, or roughly 3,000 to 3,500 gallons per hour at cruising speed. Air Force One, being heavier with all the modifications, armor plating, and equipment, probably burns closer to 4,000 gallons per hour. Do the math. 53,000 gallons divided by 4,000 gallons per hour equals about 13 hours of flight time. That's the baseline. Air Force One, fully fueled, no refueling, stays airborne for roughly 13 to 14 hours maximum before it runs out of fuel and has to land. But here's where it gets interesting. Air Force One has aerial refueling capability. It can refuel mid-flight from Air Force tanker aircraft. In theory, with continuous refueling, Air Force One could stay airborne indefinitely. As long as tankers keep meeting it, it never has to land. So during a zombie apocalypse, if the Air Force maintains operational tanker aircraft with fuel supplies, Air Force One could stay up for days, weeks, even months. The president lives in the sky while the ground is overrun. Sounds perfect, right? Not quite. Because fuel isn't the only limiting factor. Let's talk about the problems that ground Air Force One even if it has infinite fuel. Problem 1. The tankers need fuel too. Aerial refueling works by having KC-135 Stratotankers or KC-46 Pegasus tankers meet Air Force One at altitude and transfer fuel through a boom system. But those tankers need fuel themselves. They need to land, refuel from ground supplies, and take off again. If the zombie apocalypse has collapsed infrastructure, fuel production and distribution stops, refineries shut down, pipelines fail, fuel depots are overrun or defended by military remnants who might not cooperate. The tankers can refuel Air Force One a few times from existing stockpiles, but eventually the fuel runs out. When the tankers can't get fuel, Air Force One can't stay up. Problem 2. Maintenance. Aircraft require constant maintenance. Air Force One, more than most because of its complexity. Engines need inspections, systems need checks, parts wear out. Hydraulics need fluid. The longer you fly, the more things break or degrade. Air Force One has an onboard maintenance crew, but they can only do so much in flight. Eventually, the plane needs to land for serious maintenance. You can't replace an engine at 40,000 feet. Flying continuously for weeks would cause mechanical failures that can't be fixed airborne. The plane becomes unsafe and has to land. Problem 3. Crew exhaustion. Air Force One has 2 complete crews so they can rotate and rest during long flights. But even with rotation, human endurance has limits. Pilots need real sleep in real beds, not cockpit naps. Extended flight operations for days on end lead to mistakes. Exhausted pilots crash planes. Eventually they have to land so the crew can properly rest. Problem 4. Food and water. Air Force One carries supplies for the president, staff, and crew. Full meals, plenty of water, even a galley kitchen. But it's designed for flights lasting hours to maybe a day or two, not weeks. How much food and water can you store on a plane? A few days worth for everyone on board. Maybe a week if you ration. You can't resupply food and water via aerial refueling. The boom system transfers fuel, not groceries. Eventually, people on Air Force One run out of food. They're starving in the sky. They have to land to resupply. Problem 5. Waste management. Toilets on planes work via vacuum systems that store waste in tanks. Those tanks have limited capacity. With the president, staff, Secret Service, crew, you're talking dozens of people using facilities for extended periods. The waste tanks fill. When they're full, the plane has to land to empty them. Or you're living with overflowing toilets. That's not sustainable. Problem 6. Medical emergencies. If anyone on board gets seriously sick or injured, Air Force One's onboard medical capability is limited. It has a medical suite with equipment and supplies better than any commercial plane. But it's not a hospital. If someone needs surgery, serious treatment, or dies, the plane has to land. You can't keep flying with a corpse on board indefinitely. Problem 7. Loss of purpose. Why is Air Force One in the air? To keep the president safe while maintaining command and control. But if the ground is completely overrun, if government and military structures have collapsed, if communication networks are down, what's the point? The president can't command anything if there's no functioning government or military to command. Air Force One becomes a very expensive way to delay the inevitable. Eventually, the president has to land, establish a ground-based secure location, and attempt to rebuild. Flying forever accomplishes nothing. So here's the realistic timeline. The zombie apocalypse starts. Air Force One gets the president airborne immediately. That's protocol. Within hours, they're safely at altitude while chaos unfolds below. For the first 13 hours, they're flying on initial fuel. Tankers meet them, refuel in flight. They extend operations. For the first few days, this works. Tankers have fuel from stockpiles. Air Force One stays up while the military assesses the situation and tries to establish secure ground locations. But within 3 to 5 days, the system breaks down. Tanker bases are overrun or cut off. Fuel supplies are depleted or inaccessible. Maintenance issues emerge. Crew is exhausted. Food and water are running low. Waste tanks are full. The decision is made. We have to land. Air Force One descends to a military base that's still secure, probably something remote. Diego Garcia in the Indian Ocean. Thule Air Base in Greenland, somewhere far from population centers and zombie hordes. They land, resupply, rest, and establish a ground command center. Could they stay up for a week? Maybe, with perfect conditions and full tanker support. 2 weeks? Extremely unlikely. A month? Impossible. The limiting factors beyond fuel make extended flight operations unsustainable. So to answer the question, how long can Air Force One stay in the air during a zombie apocalypse? With aerial refueling, theoretically days to weeks, but realistically 3 to 7 days maximum before maintenance, supplies, crew exhaustion, or tanker fuel availability forces it to land. Without aerial refueling, 13 to 14 hours. That's it. One transoceanic flight, then it has to land somewhere. Air Force One is incredible technology. It keeps the president safe during the initial chaos. It buys time to assess and plan. But it's not a permanent solution. It's a temporary airborne sanctuary. Eventually, everyone has to land and face reality on the ground. The president survives the first week of the zombie apocalypse in the sky. Then, like everyone else, survival depends on securing a defensible ground position with food, water, and long-term sustainability. Being president doesn't change the fundamentals of survival. You can delay, but you can't escape. Gravity, fuel, food, and human limitations bring everyone back to Earth eventually. That's the survival theorem on Air Force One endurance. It's an impressive capability. It extends survival time significantly, but it's not magic. The laws of physics, engineering, and biology apply to everyone, even the president. Stay alive.